The desert did not care about customs, laws, or the slow cruelty of people. It only cared about the sun, the wind, and the silence that swallowed footsteps as if no one had ever walked there at all. And that was how the two, Apache women moved when the tribe forced them beyond the last line of mesquite trees, carrying nothing but grief and the shame others had placed on their shoulders. They were widows, and in the old council's eyes that meant misfortune, a shadow that might spread if allowed to linger. So tradition was spoken like a final verdict, calm and unquestionable, while the women listened, without tears, because all their tears had already been spent beside freshly covered graves. Naya was the elder, her face strong but hollowed by loss. Her husband fallen to fever after a long winter, while Tula, younger and quieter, had lost her man to a hunting accident that no prayer could undo, and though they had done nothing wrong, the word widowed clung to them like a curse. When they crossed into the open desert, the sounds of the tribe faded, replaced by the whistle of hot wind and the crunch of dry earth beneath their moccasins, and it was there, under a sky so wide it felt heavy, that exhaustion finally claimed Tula, her knees buckling as Naya caught her and lowered her to the ground, whispering promises she was no longer sure she could keep. Hours passed, or maybe only minutes, time bending strangely in the heat, until the rhythmic sound of hooves broke the stillness, and Naya's hand moved instinctively to shield her sister as a lone cowboy appeared, riding slow, careful not to spook them. He was not young, not old either, his face weathered by sun and regret, eyes that had seen more endings than beginnings. And when he dismounted, raising empty hands to show peace, the desert itself seemed to hold its breath. He saw the fear in Naya's eyes, the way she placed herself between him and Tula, and instead of speaking, he knelt, lowering himself to their level, offering water first because he understood that thirst spoke louder than words. Naya hesitated, then accepted the canteen, her pride cracking just enough to survive. And as she helped Tula drink, the cowboy watched quietly, learning their story not from speech but from the way grief had shaped their movements. When she finally spoke, her voice was firm despite the tremor beneath it, telling him they had been expelled, that there was no place left for them, that the desert would decide their fate now, and he listened without interruption, without judgment, until the silence returned. That was when he said it, simple and unadorned, words that carried no promises except sincerity. "Come with me." Naya studied him, searching for deception, for pity disguised as kindness, but she found neither, only a man who knew what it meant to be left behind by the world. And though fear still clawed at her chest, something else stirred too, a fragile hope she had not felt since before the funerals. The decision was not made lightly, but the desert offered no alternatives, and as the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows like reaching hands, Naya helped Tula onto the horse while the cowboy walked beside them, leading the way toward an uncertain horizon. If this story already has you leaning forward, feeling the heat, the fear, and the fragile hope of these women, take a moment to subscribe to the channel, because stories like this one are only just beginning, and your support keeps them alive. The ranch lay beyond a line of red hills, humble but stubborn, clinging to life much like the people who found their way there. And as the cowboy led them through the gate, Naya felt the weight of every step, wondering if exile had merely changed shape rather than ended. The cowboy, whose name was Elias, did not speak of saviors or charity. Instead, he spoke of work, of respect, of a place where no one asked about the past unless you chose to share it, and that honesty settled something deep inside Naya's guarded heart. Tula recovered slowly, her body weak but her spirit stronger than it had been in days, and as she walked the land, touching the rough wood of the fence, listening to the low sounds of cattle, she began to believe that survival did not always require permission from those who had cast you out. Life at the ranch was not easy. Dawn came early, hands blistered, muscles ached, and grief did not vanish simply because the scenery changed. But there was dignity in labor, and each small task completed felt like reclaiming a piece of themselves. Word traveled, as it always did in the Wild West, and not everyone approved of two Apache women living under the protection of a lone cowboy. Yet Elias stood firm, not with a gun, but with the unshakable resolve of a man who had chosen his line and would not step back from it. When trouble came, it arrived quietly at first, in the form of whispers, then in the form of men who believed tradition justified cruelty. But Naya faced them with a strength forged by loss, reminding them that survival was not a crime and that no council had the right to decide who deserved to live. Elias did not interrupt. He stood beside her, letting her voice carry, and in that moment the power shifted, subtle but undeniable. Over time, the ranch became more than refuge, became a crossroads, a place where broken paths met and mended. And though the past could not be erased, it no longer dictated the future. Naya found purpose in
helping other women who arrived
with the same haunted eyes she once carried, while Tula discovered laughter again, soft at first, then stronger, like grass pushing through cracked earth. Elias watched it all with quiet pride, knowing that sometimes the bravest thing a man can do is simply open a door and let others decide how to walk through it. When the tribe eventually sent word, not of apology but of curiosity, Naya listened without bitterness, understanding that forgiveness was a journey, not an obligation, and she chose peace on her own terms, rooted in the life she had rebuilt rather than the one that had rejected her. As the sun set over the ranch, painting the sky in colors no council could ever control, Naya realized that being widowed had not made her cursed. It had revealed her strength, and exile had not ended her story. It had transformed it. If this chapter moved you, inspired you, or made you see the Wild West through a deeper human lens, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because every subscription helps bring more powerful, untold stories like this to life. And the next journey is waiting just beyond the horizon.